So I'm just intending to do a short video on Chibson guitars. Now if you've ever purchased one, if you still own one, you've ever made any kind of admission about these guitars, you'll probably know that it's quite a contentious issue. You'll have probably seen some 65-year-old bloke who's cashed in his pension, purchased himself a Gibson Les Paul Studio, sneering at you, claiming that he's got the combined guitar knowledge of Joe Bonamassa, Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page combined, which is why I should make the admission really straight away that all four of these guitars, they've brought me so much pleasure and they continue to do so. That's not to say that I endorse buying the guitar at all. I just think my prerogative for buying them has been satisfied, I think I should say. I also need to say that I've purchased 335s and SGs as well. And all of them have been skipped effectively. They were so poor, and I guess I'll go on and explain why. But just the very fact that they were hanging on the wall just annoyed me, so I skipped them all. All of those ones anyway that I didn't like. So I guess I'll explain why and how I came to purchase my first one. I purchased myself a Gibson SG, a 61 reissue, back in around 2013, I think it was. And then I was thinking to myself, how am I going to make the next step to buy my next guitar, which I was thinking was going to be naturally a Les Paul standard. So I'd seen the first unboxing video on YouTube, and that kind of led me then to the website Chinese Guitar Skeptic. So I began to read a little more about them there, and it wasn't until I'd purchased a fair few guitars that all of the things that the guy said on his website began to resonate. Certainly with me, and all the things that he said about the guitars pretty much came true, especially about the other ones that I purchased that I skipped. So the full Les Pauls that I have here are all guitars that I knew were beyond my means. I'd never be able to afford or substantiate buying actual Gibsons of these type themselves. So when I first came across the unboxing video, obviously it took my curiosity. So that's where it started. So the first Les Paul, the Jimmy Page number 2, is a guitar that I'd always wanted, just dreamed about owning one, and it was one of them that was it was quite apparent. It was sold across many different sellers on AliExpress. So it was the first one that I went for and purchased. I got a credit card just for the security, and got into some communication with the seller, and purchased that one. The photos that the guy was sending me was actually in the end not the guitar that I actually received. But nonetheless, I guess it was a bit of a stab in the dark. So got the first guitar. Just quickly say that I changed the pickups and the wiring. From that one, I put a DiMarzio in there and then changed the wiring in that as well. I was quite fortunate to live close to a guitar tech who did that all for me. I guess again, this is another fundamental point to say the guitar out the box was very, very poor. I'd probably say that the value of the guitar as you unbox it in front of you, it's probably no more than about £50. The playability of it is very, very poor, and the quality of the sound that you're getting out of it as well is genuinely is poor too. But I put some work into that, changed the pickup, changed the wiring. And driven through an all-valve amp, you can actually get some quite nice tones out of that one. So that was the first one that I got. So from then on, I was looking at other guitars, for instance, on Cody Music or Peach Guitars as well. Some beautiful guitars on there, and one on there was a custom shop like VOS Bourbon Burst. I mean, it was on there for £5,000, and then just perusing AliExpress, I came across the second Les Paul, with the same like Bourbon Burst or something similar to the finish. So I purchased that one, and I got that with an ebony fretboard. Personally, I think it's just rosewood and it's been stained. But out of all four, it's actually the best player, if I can say that. I'm not saying it's the best player in any comparison to my Gibson, because it is not at all whatsoever. There's quite an apparent, or to me anyway, there's quite an apparent gulf between that guitar and the manufacturing quality of a Gibson. They're just nowhere near, and I don't even think now all the effort that I put into these guitars, you can even get them anywhere near. I think it's just luck on that guitar that it seems to play so well. So again, changed the pickups, changed the electrics as well, and then I got it set up as well. So that was the second one. I got quite a nice case with that one too. So I began to look a bit further afield, purchasing 335s and also an SG as well. Those when they came, they were just so poor. I never even attempted to do anything with them other than getting them set up. They really did disappoint me. The playability, they were so poor as well. The pickups weren't wax potted, but just everything about them, absolutely everything about them was just crap. So in the end, I think, as I previously said, just to see them on the wall annoyed me. So not long after, they were just literally skipped. There was absolutely no value to them whatsoever. They were really poor, and they didn't bring me any pleasure. So I got the third one. I think it was on there for around about $200. I didn't bother getting it with a case at the time. I got the pickups changed, I got the electrics changed, and I got it set up again for that by the Guitar Tech. The fourth and the final Les Paul. By this time, I kind of classed myself as a bit of a connoisseur, and I was comfortable communicating with the sellers as well. So I'd always like dreamt about having a 1952 gold top with the tailpiece on it. So they were selling the gold tops, and then I managed to communicate with them and then have a tailpiece placed on the back end of it. Luckily it all worked out, and it was delivered as I'd wanted it to. Again, changed the pickups and the electrics on that as well. The thing that I could never get any of them. I think I did ask on the fourth or final one, but I don't think I could get it across what I wanted, or whether they could do it. Is that very fine binding along the edge of the frets that's on the Gibson standards. I'm not too sure if it's on the studio models. I don't think it is. But it's not on any of these. If I could have got it, that would have been a nice touch to them. A nice final touch to them. So I need to say again, really, they've brought me so much pleasure, and they continue to do so. I'll never do anything with them other than keep them hanging here. Again, I bought them in the full knowledge that I would never be able to afford or to be able to substantiate spending the kind of money that you would have to if you wanted to buy one of these guitars original, or if you wanted to buy the ones that are discontinued second hand. Just having a quick look, the Jimmy Page, the number 2, there's a second hand one on eBay. That's for $3,000. The VOS Bourbon Burst, which is a custom shop one, that's on Peach Guitars. I think it was $5,000. Although I do notice now you can buy a standard in that finish. But yeah, originally when I'd seen that, and I bought it. That's what I was looking to replicate. It was a £5 custom shop model. The standards, they're all around about £2,000 or above that if you want to get anything historic. And then the fourth one, the gold top, I've seen one on Reverb second hand, and that was on there for £16,000. So roughly, I've spent, and I'm going to be honest, I do all in changing the pickups and that, and getting them set up and getting them in the UK and paying the custom duty as well. I'd say each one's cost me around about £300 each. I guess it's such an expansive topic. There's so much dialogue out there about these guitars and about owning them. But they've brought me so much pleasure, and I'm pleased I spent the money on them. They still give me pleasure now. I'm not worried about leaving them hanging up or just coming in and just picking one up and playing it, dropping it, knacking it, scratching it, picking up dust. I'm not bothered about that whatsoever, because I know there's absolutely no value in the guitars whatsoever. But for me, I'm pleased I purchased them, and I'm pleased I have them, and I'm able just to come in and just to pick them up really, and play along with them. Again, even if you're going to spend money on them, you won't get them even anywhere near like an Epiphone standard of guitar. Certainly, absolutely nowhere near anything that Gibson manufactures, or Fender, or like PRS or anything like that. You'll never ever get anywhere near that whatsoever. Which is my view on purchasing them. If you still can, which I don't think you can import them any longer in the UK. But if you do find one, I think the only way that you're going to be satisfied with the ownership, if it's something that you've kind of like dreamt about owning, but you're rational and you know and you accept that you could never afford an actual, say, Gibson 1952 model, because the price of them, they're just extortionate. They really are extortionate. So that's a bit of a background on them. To recap, I bought others. I bought the 335s and I bought SGs as well, and they were absolutely garbage. I wouldn't even entertain going anywhere near that model of the guitar. I don't know what it was down to. Maybe not many people buy them, and maybe they just weren't manufactured in the same kind of quantities, or really it was just the care and the attention just wasn't put into them like it is with the Les Pauls, even to get them to that appalling standard when you unbox these things. So that's it. I might do another video and then just maybe put a bit more detail into what I did to these, and maybe more about the playability as well. Even if you set up the intonation for playing, let's say, standard chords around the first 5 frets, you can do so, as long as you've got an all tube amp and you can drive it. You'll get a nice sound. You can play any kind of lead beyond the 3rd or 5th fret, and the guitar will sound nice. The problem comes when you want to go past the 5th fret and play any kind of like chord configuration, say on the D, G, B, E low strings and that. Then it becomes abundantly clear about the limitations on these guitars and the sound that they can make, because they really do fall down with the intonation. You can't really go past and play any kind of chord configuration on these guitars, these guitars past the 3rd or 5th fret, because they sound very, very poor. And if you've got a sharp ear, then you'll pick that up and it will just annoy you, very simply. So I might do something else on that. But I just hope it's been of some value. Obviously, I've spent time purchasing these in dialogue with the sellers as well to get them to the UK, and then I've spent time playing them and getting them set up, watching other people's videos, and coming to my own conscious position where I can make kind of an honest and rational view about buying these. Because as I said right at the very start, that it does buying these guitars, it does seem to be a bit of a contentious issue. So I hope that's been of value, really, and I haven't bored the arse off anybody in doing so. So I've just got to say, cheers for hanging in there and watching the video. Thank you.